Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully the other two town board members will join us. It is Monday, August 24th, 2020, and this is a meeting of the Urbana City Council, the Cunningham Town Board Special Joint Meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wu,
Here.
Ms. Lout,
Here.
Ms. Hersey, Mr. Brown, Mr. Roberts,
I'm here. Thank you.
Mr. Colebrook,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mayor Marlin.
Here. Next item on the agenda is public input. Does anyone wish to address the joint meeting of the council and Cunningham Town Board? I don't see any hand raised among participants. Okay. We have one item of business here, which is a discussion of the consolidated social service funding for fiscal year 2021. And leading that discussion will be Lori Pearson, Alyssa JJ, and perhaps Sheila Dodd. I'm not sure. So who's going to start off?
I think we're turning it right over to Alyssa.
Great. Welcome, Alyssa.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes. Is this any better?
Better.
It's better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Alyssa JG. I am the Community Development Specialist in the Grants Management Division. And I'm here today to bring our funding recommendations for the Consolidated Social Service Fund. This has been a program that the city and the township have done since 1996, and we serve nonprofit agencies that work with Urbana residents, and we give them grants as a reimbursement. So on May 26th, the Consolidated Social Service Committee came to Committee of the Whole, and we asked to delay our funding recommendations due to the pandemic. And that way we could give agencies the opportunity to update their programs if there were any changes due to the pandemic and the way they operate. Only 4 agencies of the 31 sent back updates. And at that same meeting, 3 programs were decided to be funded, and those were Wesley Food Pantry, Healthcare Consumers, and Sola Gracia. And they were determined to be programs that were serving an immediate need, especially in the pandemic with low-income residents or more residents facing hardships due to loss of employment. So the total funding pool is $175. $100,000 is coming from the township, $70,000 comes from general funds, and $5,000 comes from community development block grant funds. And this budget was already previously approved. So of the 31 programs that applied, 17 are recommended for funding. Agencies that were denied did not have complete applications. They were part of a taxing body, or they did not meet immediate needs of low-income residents. And attached to your memo is a scoring tool that we use. And this is just to make sure we have every program and agency reviewed on the same metrics, but we don't necessarily look at total scores when we make our decisions. And then this year we really factored in the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the needs of our community have definitely changed from when we first put the application out. And we just wanted to make sure that we were truly serving Urbana residents in the best way possible. And then also any program that will be funded by the city of Urbana will be a fee-for-service model. So that means they have to show documentation of the number of Urbana residents served in order to get their reimbursement. And so that might mean they don't use their full grant amount, but it also ensures that taxpayer dollars are staying within our community. And with that, I will open it up to any questions or comments.
Questions for Alyssa? Jared?
Alyssa, I was curious about there were a lot of there are definitely a lot of surprising denials in this. I don't think I've ever seen quite so many as we're seeing in this one. And curious as to, we don't see a reason associated with this, and some of them obviously are obvious if they're connected to a municipality, and some of these are ones we've funded in the past that I'm surprised to see an outright denial of their applications. Is there any way for us to get some more information about why there were specific denials and why there were so many?
Yeah, we can share that. And when we let agencies know, once everything's approved and we let agencies know, we will let them know the reason that they were denied. And that way, when they apply again in the future, they can make sure that they have a different application that is going to serve our needs. But a lot of them were just issues of making sure that they could financially and manage a grant, and also that they're meeting the immediate needs. And so we kind of changed things a little bit just because of the pandemic.
Okay, I guess I'm just perplexed at why some of them couldn't be considered having immediate need there. One in particular that caught my eye in this was First Followers and their workforce development program, which we funded at a pretty high rate last year, and to outright deny their application this time seems there must have been something pretty detrimentally wrong with what they were trying to do if we gave them such a big pool last year and now we're just outright denying them. Do you have any further to comment on what happened there?
Yeah, they had an incomplete application, but we'd also like to work with them through some of our other grant sources to support their programs.
What was incomplete about the application?
They were just missing a few pieces. And I don't remember off the top of my head. I have it documented. I don't remember off the top of my head. But there are a few pieces missing for their application. And we do want to work with them to bring in some other grant sources to them from HUD.
Is there a metric we're using to decide how incomplete somebody's application must be in order for them to be denied? I mean, you miss one line on the thing and, we just cut it because they didn't include the right address, or how are we deciding something is incomplete enough to warrant being cut from even being able to apply?
Yeah, the application has a checklist on there, and it lists all the attachments they need to have, as well as states that you need to have everything in your application filled out. So if you don't have all the items that are attached, that is considered an incomplete application. We also offer technical assistance for about a month, which means agencies can either meet with me or Danielle at the Township, and they can go over their application and get it reviewed.
Mary Alice, did you need to add something there?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Jared, that generally what Alyssa had said is that there's a list of attachments. There's financials, such as an audit. There's different items that you need to include with tax returns. If you're not a large enough group, then there's kind of a supplemental form. So if they didn't attach one of the elements, it's not actually filling out everything within the document. So there's a grant application, and then there's a list of different attachments that you have to have. And I don't remember off the top of my head what First Followers didn't attach, but it would have been a complete attachment that was missing. It wouldn't be just partial. It wouldn't be like a partial answer to something. And I felt like the committee felt pretty confident that we could meet some of the needs of First Followers through other grants. And so if I remember correctly, it was pretty much unanimous of all the people on the committee that thought that. Alyssa, is that correct? Is that your memory?
Yeah. Yep, that is correct. And we also have a smaller funding pool this year than last year. Last year we had about $50,000 more in grant funds. And so with a tighter budget, we really did have to prioritize.
Okay, thanks for those updates.
Before we go on, I just want the record to reflect that council members Sharice Hersey and Bill Brown have joined the meeting. Dennis?
So I was wondering then, had the different organizations that had missing parts of their application of concern. Did you contact them to inform them that there was something missing and that they needed to get it into your office if they wanted to be considered?
Part of our application process is that you need to submit complete applications on time. And so before anyone can apply, they need to attend a workshop where I go over the application, the requirements, the due date, and the fact that technical assistance is available. So it's very clear that everything does need to be submitted completely and on time, including all the attachments. And that's why we don't contact anyone for follow-up with this program.
Because it's possible that somebody who's filling it out may not have had a conversation with the directoring staff to understand exactly their concerns about having a complete application filled in for the city. I mean, I'm just wondering if there was, if we could do a better job to communicate with the people who are applying to get a complete application. And maybe what we ought to do is consider having a 3-day extension to get anything that's missing in, or else it might be more humane or something, or more thoughtful.
Yeah, that is something we can consider in the future. And I think our big push for even having technical assistance available is that we can sit down with applicants and walk through all their one-on-one questions and make sure they do have a complete application, but it's their choice if they'd like to complete it. And we do the big workshop, and you can't get an application unless you attend the workshop or someone from your agency does. There are handouts at that workshop, but we can consider having an extension period as well.
Well, I recommend it that we have consider having a 3-day extension period and letting everybody know whose qualification hasn't been met by a missing document, that they have 3 days to get it in final. For next year, I'd recommend that.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Just to be clear, this is a discussion item, so there's no action you're asking for tonight, but you're getting feedback from council members?
Yes.
Okay. Jared?
Well, I guess I forgot this is just discussion and we're not voting on it. So are you showing this to us, Alyssa, prior to the actual vote then on this, correct?
I would like to ask Sheila real quick when we are voting for this.
Well, in case Sheila can't answer, I believe the answer is, pop on, Sheila.
Hi, Jared. We took the process to council, and then I think we're following the same that we did last year. So these are the recommended funding agencies, and as soon as we can get them to you for a vote of approval, we'd like to, just because I know many of these agencies are kind of hurting for money. And while we'll date this back to July 1 and let them spend money from then, they're still wanting to get their agreements in place and start getting their programs up and running.
For sure. But do we have a council meeting that we're expecting to see this come up, or I guess the next joint meeting that we're expecting to see this come up for a vote?
Yeah, we can bring it to the next joint meeting in September. I think it's the 14th.
And Sheila, just for clarification, that would be where they would be considering the actual agreements?
Yes.
So it would be
Yes,
after notification of the awardees.
Right. And Jared, just to follow up on First Followers, they're a great organization, and we're working very closely with them to actually have access to some capacity building money that will allow them more flexibility and to be able to move their program forward a little easier. So I have been meeting with them off and on since the first part of July and trying to get them to become a community housing development organization, which is a great opportunity for them to not only give them capacity building money, but give them rehab construction dollars as well.
Sure, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm aware of their efforts to try and expand since they've been pretty successful.
Right.
And we were certainly very helpful in helping them get off the ground with some of the awards we've given to them previously. So it's just pretty concerning to me to see a zero sum on this, but I'm glad to hear we're working with them on other ways. Just generally commenting to Dennis's comments, I think that we should definitely consider doing some sort of denial notification to let folks know, hey, your group was not denied. You have until Dennis said 3 days. I would say a week to get us the finalized documents that were requested that were not provided. If we are not able to receive, so at least then, I understand deadlines and extending deadlines, and with grants, there's always an issue of going over the top with those things. But I don't think it would be highly unreasonable to at least notify agencies that they've been denied and that they're going to need to supply X, Y, and Z in order to be fully considered. And I would definitely support being able to see something like that in our process.
Yeah, and I would like to strongly encourage them to take advantage of the technical assistance, because last year we gave them 5 weeks. This year we gave them 4 weeks, which is an opportunity for us to sit down privately and really go through it line by line with them to make sure that, they learn how the application process works, but also make sure there's none of those missing documents when they get to the end of the road. And the reason that we kind of set it up this way was to really have a more fair and open process so that everybody was allowed the same opportunities and there weren't private conversations on the side once the period ended. So that's why we do this technical assistance time period.
Sure, I understand. I know how hard it can be, especially with folks who are newer to the process, to get it all straight and get it all out. And I think it's great that we're doing it. I'm just concerned that we might be letting some good things slip through the cracks here. So.
Yeah, and it is difficult for the committee, and Mary Alice can attest to this too, when you have $600,000 or $700,000 in request and a very small pool to be able to address that with. So we really tried to look at the most immediate need, and then, for example, with First Followers, where are there other funding sources in the community that can maybe take the place of that agency's needs without tapping into this pot of money?
Sure. And Sheila, can you expand a little bit on the NAWC New American Welcome Center and the immediate needs? I mean, I get their documents that they send out all the time with their program updates, and they certainly seem to have a lot of program updates. I don't know that anything that I've seen in the recent ones would rise to the era of immediate need for me, but perhaps I'm missing something.
They're one of the few agencies in town that are able to address the immigrant needs. And so that's where we see a gap in the community of people having access to resources, is that immigrant population. And so since they're kind of the liaison, we felt that was important. We use them a lot with the pandemic and getting word out about getting tested and safe housing, and they're involved in a lot of safety issues in the community. So
it's I guess community awareness is what those dollars are going towards.
Yeah, I don't have the application in front of me, so I can't speak to that, but that was where, as a group, we felt like their services weren't really offered by any other agency at this time. And Danielle was more familiar with them, and I'm sorry she's not on the call this evening. But that was where we looked at them as filling a gap that nobody else does, and that was a necessary gap at this time.
Okay, well, maybe I'll reach out to Danielle and ask her what more she might know about their program.
Sure.
Thanks.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what Sheila said. Danielle was said that the township really leverages them very hard. And since there aren't a lot of programs available for immigrants, it was especially important that the services that they provide. So she would be able to give you the specific services that they leverage with Township, but she was very adamant that they provided a missing link in our community.
Gotcha. And then last thing I wanted to ask about was the Neighborhood Connection Center Community Study Center. I think we've talked about funding this before, but hadn't, or maybe we gave it a smaller award. What are they moving forward with on that?
Last year, their application for one of their programs was not complete, and so we ended up funding just one. This year, both applications were complete, but with the pandemic, they aren't open 100% of the time, and I don't know the specific hours. That's a question Danielle could answer, but we felt like it is an important agency, and so we funded both of the programs that they requested dollars for.
Thank you.
I would add to the discussion of the New American Welcome Center, and this is indirectly one of the things they've done, but they've been a leader in outreach to the immigrant community for our census efforts. And that, of course, has a direct impact on the dollars coming into our community for the programs and services that we need. So they've just been a real major partner in the community-wide effort for census outreach. Any other questions or comments? Bill, please unmute.
Yeah, just wanted to note that we did fund Urbana Neighborhood Connection Center for years and years. I think last year was actually the first year where it had their funding cut quite a bit. And then I don't know if you might have mentioned it earlier, was CU Fair one that had an incomplete application, or I know some of the things you're talking about that New American Welcome Center does, CU Fair also does, and they work pretty closely together. And I don't know if New American Welcome Center distributes any money to any other groups or not, or is CU Fair one of those that might have other funding opportunities? Can you comment any on that?
CU Fair has changed their name and has undergone a little bit of a reorganization. And they've kind of done that over the past 2 or 3 months since the application deadline. And then when funding came about, I'm working with them on another application through the state of Illinois to get funding for housing. And so while their application was incomplete, they've since kind of changed the name of the organization.
Okay. It sounds like there may be other funding though that what do you?
Yeah, we're trying to help them with an application that they've put through the state of Illinois, and if funded, it'd be a wonderful opportunity for them.
Okay, and then I guess I'm kind of I guess I have mixed opinions about the incomplete applications. It seems like they have the opportunity to submit them a week early, and if it doesn't take too long just to go through to see if an application is complete, you could at least like acknowledge that their application is complete. But yeah, it seems like there ought to be some way to at least acknowledge that amount, so that they have time to get additional documents in if they left something out. But I do appreciate being able to have the technical assistance as long as everybody's aware of it. And then the effect of COVID, I know, and you may have discussed this earlier, but did you notify everybody that there would be an extension or they could resubmit changes to their application to address not being able to do certain things that they used to be able to do?
Everyone who submitted an application received an email that there was the opportunity to extend it. I want to say they had about a month to make those changes as well.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? So is that your hand, Julie? Oh, okay. So we will see these agreements coming to council on September 14th. And if council has further questions, should they contact Alyssa on this or Sheila?
They
Alyssa?
can they can contact me.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And thank you to Mary Alice for serving as the council rep on this committee as well. And thanks to Danielle Chenoweth.
Thank you.
All right. We, with no further business before the joint meeting, we will adjourn and then we will reconvene with the regular Urbana City Council meeting at 7 o'clock.